Well, hello again. Welcome to another wonderful day of amp repair in our little shop. For about the last hour, I've been taking a look at this Mesa Blue Angel the customer brought in this weekend. His complaint was originally that it had no sound. So he called tech support at Mesa Boogie. And they suggested that he replace all the tubes in his amplifier to start working again. So, like any good little soldier, that's exactly what he did. Let's take a look down here. Here is his box of old tubes. I made him bring those in just in case. Sometimes it's actually easier to find out what the original problem was with the original tubes in the amplifier. So, by the way, take note of that. If you are going to change tubes to see if you can fix your amplifier on your own, please mark your original tubes so you can put them back in the original locations. So if you have to take it into a shop, that someone has an idea of where things were and what was going on if they have to troubleshoot it. It makes things a lot simpler. If you have a tube that caused a problem, sometimes you have a little bit more trouble finding it once the new tube's been replaced. So that's one of the reasons I like to have things the way it is working. Now, getting back to this situation, as I said, the technician at the factory had told this customer to replace the tubes in his amplifier and it'd start working. Well, I'm not going to bust this guy's chops because actually he and I are good phone friends. This particular technician and I go way back. I used to actually do service work for Mesa Boogie, and this fellow and I developed a good relationship back then. In fact, I will tell you that he is actually using in his own gigging amp one of my speakers that I build, and he used my mod sheet for his Fender for his jazz gig amp. So I have no problem with what this guy told him. In a lot of cases that probably works. In this case it didn't. So moving on to what the problem here actually was. It took me a little while to track this down. We had no voltage on our preamp tubes. So in this particular amplifier, we have a lot of different stuff going on. Our main power supply is on this side of the amp. And then we have traces that go across the board and leads that come over to here to supply these capacitors of power for the preamp. Well, as it turns out, everything from the reverb return tube forward in the amplifier didn't have any power supply. So let's go over here a second. I consulted my handy little schematic, and as it turns out, we have a separate power supply for our preamp. Okay? Down here's your main power supply. Here's your plate, your screen, and another higher voltage. But all your preamp tubes run from a separate supply up here. Okay? That being said, I had to track through the amplifier. So again, let's go back over here. So I had to track through the amplifier to find out where things are and where the voltage is stopped. As it turns out, the culprit was actually this little power supply resistor that was hidden down here. Right here I have replaced, you can see right here, I'm using stick because the voltages are actually on this amp. You can see I've replaced this resistor right here. That is your main feed for that voltage. And what I did was I bumped up the size of the resistor a little bit because frankly a little half watt resistor probably is not enough to handle the current of all those preamp tubes. And that's your original resistor that supplies your first power. So, amazingly, when I changed it, all of a sudden, we had power supply where we were supposed to have it. We now have our voltage up here. It's 192 volts. We have our voltage on our preamp tube right here. You can hear it clicking when you hit it with the meter. So, all is well and good. You can hear the amp hum, hiss a little bit. Of course, that was turned up all the way. We'll do it this way. We have amplifier now. So, this gets us right back to the conversation I had made a few videos ago about I chronically see guys buying tubes, putting their amplifiers. This guy did not need a single one of the tubes that he bought. And in his particular case, with this amp, what you have is a 5R4 rectifier tube, a pair of 6V6s, 4 EL84s, and 5 preamp tubes. He did not need any of them. This is what he needed. So, there you go. I hope that runs a flag up the pole for you so that you notice things and think about this a little bit. I will get back to putting this amplifier together. It's all finished. I've actually already cleaned the pots and stuff in it. I'm going to bench around it here a little while and make sure there's absolutely no more problems. I don't perceive anymore. We'll bolt it back together and it will be ready to go for him. So please keep this tube thing in mind again. I will repeat as necessary until I think people get the point. So until next time, take care, be nice to others, and play nice. Later.